You know, guys, I always felt like if someone was going to deliver me bad news, I would rather it be in person, right? Let me at least see the face, right? That's giving me this. So here I am doing this right now, letting you know, my PvP community, that things are about to change for you in a big way. Your special weapons aren't going to feel that special anymore. Your cheesy loadouts are going to be, well, a little less cheesy, if not completely eliminated. And your primary weapon shot is about to become the most important factor inside of Crucible, which I know is crazy. To the people that just live inside of PvP, the thoughts of using a primary weapon as a primary, it's just nuts. Like, who does that? Turns out there are players that do in fact do that. And those are the players that are going to benefit the greatest from update 7.3.5. Now, I need to go over some of these changes real quick for those of you that don't know what's about to go down. First up, Bungie is doing these changes to player health that they've never done before. And this is a huge change for those that maybe you've not tuned in for previous like sandboxes and patch notes and other things. But Bungie has never affected the health pool of a Guardian. I think they may have done it once before, but it was like micro change. But they're essentially going in there and increasing hit points inside of Crucible by 30. So players will now have 100 health instead of 70, and they will have somewhere between 116 and 130 shield, depending on the player's resilience value. Now, what this really means is that a max resilience Guardian goes from 200 health to now 230, which is a big deal. We're talking the ability to soak an extra body shot in there, right? Now, melee, grenade, and class ability cooldowns have a 15% penalty. They're trying to tone down abilities. Super cooldowns have a 20% penalty as well. They also increase base super damage by 31%, increase base melee damage by 16%, and arc flux grenade damage by 16%. The main takeaway for that is that they're trying to make sure that your supers are still going to get one-hit kills. Your melees is going to be able to get the kill in 2 melees, and arc flux grenade is still going to be able to get the one-hit sticky kill. Why are they doing this? What is the purpose of raising the health pool inside of Crucible? Isn't this just going to be like a lengthier time to kill value across the board? Why not just tone the damage down? It's a valid point. I don't know. I guess Bungie could have done that, right? Essentially, though, they're actually keeping the time to kill values for all of our primary weapons the same across the board. Everything's going to have the same optimal time to kill value. But this also means with that same optimal time to kill value, those crit values are going up. At the same time, body shot values are going to remain at their lows, if not in certain cases lower. And what this means is that instead of being able to sneak in an optimal time to kill value of like 0.87 seconds in 2 crits, 1 body, now it is a necessity to land 3 crits. And that's across the board. Every single weapon type out there is pretty much going to require you to land crits. You want to win that duel, that gunfight, you got to land crits. Now, if we go down here to things like hand cannons, they're increasing things like critical hit damage by 10%. That's going to bring us up to 77. They're reducing body shot damage by 5%. And what this is actually going to do here, guys, is again, like I said, with all these weapon types, is with the reduction there in body shot damage, you have to land crits. And that is going to widen that skill gap. And I'm just using hand cannons as an example here. How is this going to affect PvP? Is this really going to be effective in widening that skill gap? And why would you even want a widening in skill gap? I think this kind of goes back to Bungie's roots, right? As far as like Halo goes. Bungie back then, you know, with Halo, especially if you were rocking a BR or even a DMR or any weapon type inside of Halo, you knew when you messed up, right? Like in the middle of a duel, the moment your shot veered off and didn't land that crit, if you didn't land that burst, you knew, oh, right there is where I messed up. This is where I could have improved if I would have just landed that one shot. And that was something that they mentioned in the TWAB, is that they're tired of seeing engagements where people come out of it not learning anything, not learning why it is they lost. And it's normally because of cheesy stuff. Do you get hit with a fighting lion and another special grenade launcher over and over? There's not a lot there that you can learn from. You're like, okay, what do I do? Just not exist? Do I just not even engage this opponent? And there are people out there that could use that just wonderfully. I've tried using it. I'm not that good at it. But then there's other loadouts too. I've used like an explosive personality with disruption break and a kinetic weapon. And dude, that kill is so fast. The moment I drop the grenade and then follow up with a kinetic weapon, there's not a lot you can do unless you're preemptively jumping around the corner or jumping up higher or knowing like how to deal with the wave frame, which is a skill set in itself. But the point is that Bungie is trying to veer away from these things. Now, the other side of things is they're making changes to special, which is the other big change in all of this. And that's pretty much where Checkmate started. The changes to special weapons is what actually drove Checkmate to become originally just a featured game mode to now becoming the permanent setting inside of Crucible. Special weapons are too rampant. There's too many of them, and they're always being used, from Cloud Strike to Conditional Finality and others. This is their way of toning them down. In terms of special ammo acquisition, you will start every game, all game types, including round-based modes like Dominion, with 2 kills worth of special ammo for your chosen weapon. And instead of 2 kills worth of special ammo being granted every time you respawn, you will earn more ammo by filling up a special ammo meter with points given for getting kills, assists, or completing objectives. And getting 100 points will grant you 2 kills worth of special ammo for your chosen weapon. They give you a variety of like different ways. So 100 being the meter that actually gives you, like, as soon as you get 100 is when you get special. And they give you a variety of like the point thresholds for kills, assists, deaths, which by the way, you cannot farm by killing yourself across the board though. Now, what they did mention is that you can go in there with double primary and then swap to a special weapon and still get special ammo meter progress. Doing so will erase that and you'll start off at 0 no matter what. So if you want special ammo, you have to have it on. This is where Checkmate is rooted. You see, a long time ago, Bungie was making changes to weapons, to the sandbox, to other things, and they were trying to address special weapons being too strong. I mean, it was such an issue that literally from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2, Bungie dropped special weapons, guys. We had a double primary system and we had a heavy weapon. Shotguns were literally in the heavy weapon slot. You would run over there with your main ingredient or your deadpan and pick up heavy ammo. And that was technically your special weapon, but it was present in the heavy slot. And the rest of the game, you ran around with 2 primary weapons. You don't want things to be that slow, in my opinion. Like, that was way too slow. And then Forsaken came, Bungie finally reversed those things. They gave us back special weapons again, and then other things like random rolls. There was a lot of things back in D2 Vanilla that Bungie really shot themselves in the foot on. You know, giving us static rolls, double primary weapons. We were moving much slower. Time to kill values were also longer. The whole game was extremely slow. That's why we had the Go Fast update in the year leading up to Forsaken. And that was not what we asked for from D1 to D2. I remember playing Trials in Destiny 1, and I was like, dude, I love where primary weapons are. I love the 0.8 to 0.87 time to kill values here. You know, maybe a little lower than that whenever we're talking like close range weapons, like being within 10, 12 meters of an enemy. And to me, that was a sweet spot. Now, special was getting so out of hand that Bungie has eventually added like special ammo crates, and you didn't have special ammo when you spawn, things like that. But they went too hard in D2 Vanilla by getting rid of specials completely, by giving us that lengthy time to kill value, and also by giving us static rolls. We're not returning to that. And for my folks thinking that we're about to be experiencing D2 Vanilla all over again, it won't be that bad. We've been playing Checkmate. We've actually been playtesting it pretty much for the past 6 months. Checkmate is not nearly that bad. Matter of fact, inside of Trials, I actually like Checkmate Trials. I think it plays really well. I like that most of my duels are primary duels, but at the same time, I feel like, yes, you have control over this gunfight even more, because as you slay out more and more, you acquire special ammo, and then you're able to go out there and slay with that special weapon. Pretty much uncontested too, by the way, which is what's crazy. It's like the moment you get special ammo, if you're the one slaying out, you're able to run straight in there with a shotgun and nobody has anything to counter you. So in some ways, if you're really like, if you're a good player that has a good primary shot, this is only going to make you better on a multitude of levels. The ability to obviously beat out other people in primary duels, but at the same time, to get that snowball effect in your favor. But this is not going to be nearly as slow, nearly as bad as D2 Vanilla. And personally, guys, I really like the changes here. Now, there are some issues that I'm concerned about. Some weapons that I'm concerned about losing ground in terms of the meta once we get inside of this. One of those being Thorn. My concern with Thorn is that its ability to 2-crit one body on tier 5 resilience and lower, it's not going to be able to do that. And also its ability to 2-tap at tier 5 resilience or lower if you have Mark of the Devourer procced. It currently cannot do that inside of Checkmates. And this is based on our own testing. That is going to be an issue, and there are going to be other weapons like Thorn that Bungie's going to have to go in there and fine tune. So I think in terms of the meta, in terms of weapons that stand out in the meta, those weapons are going to be definitely hurt in the Checkmate environments. Then we have weapons like Ace of Spades, where Momentum More will move from 1 crit into body to 2 crits in 1 body. Now I'm going to go over a few other archetypes that are going to be affected here. We've got Precision Hand Cannons, which requires 2 crits to body to reach that optimal time to kill. It will now require 3 crits, 1 body. Again, more widening of that skill gap. Aggressive hand cannons will also see their forgiveness be severely reduced, which Bungie did specifically name in the TWAB of having high forgiveness. Now, some machine guns, they're increasing the critical hit damage by 12.5%, so to still maintain that optimal time to kill value, but they're reducing the body shot damage by 3%. They're also making target lock now activate later in the magazine. So for SMGs like Immortal, that can roll with target lock, this is going to hurt it badly. Pretty much, target lock is going to be a useless perk inside of PvP. Precision frame SMGs were also named directly in the TWAB. Expect their forgiveness levels to go down. Weapons like Shayura's Wrath, Unending Tempest, those will be addressed. I think the point with SMGs, and again, we'll see how this plays out in a real environment, the point to the SMG thing there is that, yes, it's going to require more crits overall if you want to reach that optimal time to kill. Now, bows are pretty much going in there and slashing bows every which way, including True Sight on Wishender, which is probably a good thing. But then on the other side of things, we're starting to see some small buffs. Things like Vigilant Swing is getting deterministic recoil, which it should still be able to get the 2 bursts even inside of a checkmate environment. Vex Mythic class is getting a range bump. I would prefer it to be at 390 instead of at 360. That way PvE players can take advantage of that. But small incremental changes, maybe we'll get back to that. Now, to also combat some of the primary weapons that were doing really good in checkmate, Fighting Lion is getting its damage reduced. Devil's Ruin is getting its charge beam damage reduced. Crimson is actually getting its flinch reduced. Now, Forerunner, they mentioned, is getting its damage versus players in Crucible increased by 20%. Now, as far as the rest of our weapons and archetypes, guys, the main thing is, if you look across the board, time to kill wise, everything should pretty much be the same. When looking at TTK values, though, across the board, you know, you've got optimal TTK values of adaptive hand cannons around 0.87 seconds. But then you have body shot TTK values that are kind of in line, but then once we get into a checkmate environment, they're going to dip off so bad, so severely, that it's not even going to be worth landing a single body shot in an engagement. Again, guys, the purpose of this is Bungie is trying to widen that skill gap. They want you to know you messed up in that gunfight, like you knew back inside of Halo when you messed up landing that burst or that DMR shot. Hey, if you just would have landed that crit, you would have won that duel. They want more duels rather than how do I get good at engaging and disengaging with the cheesiest stuff inside of Crucible, which is really what's been the meta, I would say, for a long time. You know, Destiny, I call it the art of disengagement, but Destiny is all about, let me slide around this corner. Let me come around this corner. Let me peek with a one-hit kill weapon. If I get a kill, great. If I don't, disengage. That has been the meta for a very long time. It's the art of pretty much finding ways to disengage at all times. And then the next thing that you default to is team shot. Now, the thing I am concerned about in a checkmate environment is team shot becoming the meta. And that's where things like still having potent abilities and also special weapons really can break that up. You got to remember, guys, in D2 Vanilla, team shot was the meta. Literally everybody was team shotting because there was no reason to not be in a group of enemies. But if you've got a Cloud Strike, you got this guy in the opposing team, he's popping off with his primary weapon, and then he gets ammo for his Cloud Strike, you might not want to group up. And that's the beautiful thing about special weapons. So it needs to exist, right? Having potent abilities also needs to exist. Those things are the things that break up team grouping. So again, with all the checkmate changes that are happening here, guys, I think these are good changes. This is a shakeup that needed to happen. Crucible has become immensely stale. If Bungie would just give us a good anti-cheat, my lord, we actually might really love PvP again for once. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, considering they literally laid off half their security department. But these changes are not as severe as D2 Vanilla. I need y'all to understand that we're not going back straight to what we experienced in D2 Vanilla. We don't have static rolls. We have much more lethal primary weapons. We also have abilities that are much more lethal. We move faster, and we still have an ability to acquire special ammo by simply slaying out. I think this is great. I'm looking forward to these changes, guys. I know some of you right now are like already checking out. You're like, dude, I'm done with Crucible. Let me be real though. This needed to happen because so many people have already said that same statement, and I've already walked away from Crucible a long time ago. If you looked at like peak players, and I'm using like Trials of Osiris as a metric because that's a pretty good metric for this. The peak for Trials was back in its revamp in season. The loss at 748,000. This was September 10th to September 14th, way back when. Nothing has ever topped that, guys. Not even Lightfall. Like Lightfall and Trials and Lightfall, we've had like the most players ever. Not even that. And I mean, they had good numbers. We were at over 500,000 players back on March 31st. But still, there needed to be a change here because there has been a consistent trickle down here of players playing PvP. And so I think something like this is enough of a shakeup to have people come back and try it out. I think for my own enjoyment, I look past the metrics. for my own enjoyment, I prefer more of my gunfights be reliant on me landing crits, rather than being good at disengaging and engaging as quickly as I can with some cheesy loadout. I want to be able to come in there and actually line up a shot, get in that duel, and walk away from it knowing where I messed up, what I could have done better, and how I can get better going forward. This is very, very important, guys, for the overall health for PvP, and it needs to happen. Considering we have a Crucible Strike team now, that's engaged at just doing Crucible changes. We get these changes coming in, we get more maps, which we're supposed to be getting, and we get a better anti-cheat. You do those things, and we've got a pretty damn good PvP. We'll see what plays out though, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you think. I hope you're okay with this format. We just wanted to try something a little different. I know for my Crucible players that are so used to clutching your special weapons, you're like, no, I hate this. I'm gonna go find something else to play. Come on, it's not gonna be that bad, dude. Just get good at your primary shot, damn it. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.